RevOps, where the learning never stops. Hosted by Sandy Robinson, she's leveling up your ops. From data to deals, she reveals how AI really pops. Real talk, real playbooks, no fluff, just jaw drop. So plug in, turn it up, let the insights flow. You're tuned to AI-powered RevOps, now let's start the show.
Hey everyone, Sandy Robinson here on the next episode of AI-Powered RevOps. Welcome back to the show. Today, I'm joined by Roy Carmel. Roy is the CEO and co-founder of Spotlight.ai, where he's building AI agents that help enterprise revenue teams turn buyer interactions into decisions and action. He's not just thinking about theory, he's operating in the field and sharing research-backed insights on what actually moves deals. Today, we're digging into the future of AI in enterprise B2B sales and what that means for RevOps. If enterprise sales complexity is your reality, you'll want Roy's take on where this is headed. Okay, Roy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Sandy.
Well, hey, listen, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah. So as you said, co-founder and CEO of Spotlight AI. I started the company because of more than a decade of dealing with those type of problems in the companies that I've been an executive on. Companies like Cybereason, Effective Mobile, all of them in hyper growth phase, going from low single digits to over 100 million, and solving those type of problems all the way from the strategy roles into the field, through marketing, through into sales and RevOps. And I saw that every team we worked with had the same type of pains, bottlenecks, problems, especially when they mature into a more sales excellence type of operation. And so I fell in love with that problem, to be honest. Even though my background was a long time ago was technical in product. I spent almost 20 years there, but I fell in love with that problem, and so I started not just solving it for the companies I work with. I started helping other companies as an advisor, and really dug into this problem. And then about 2 years before Gen AI was out, but AI started sort of making its way, it became clear to me this is an opportunity to go solve this problem at scale. And so we sat down, me and my co-founders, and we built what we now call the Spotlight Knowledge Graph. We put all of our collective experience with about 100 CROs and RevOps into this knowledge graph, knowing AI will get to a point where it can actually do the things that we imagine it should do. And so once Gen AI came out, it was an amazing experience. And today I work with unbelievable teams in with MongoDB, with Ping Identity, with Sprinkler, and with Wiz, with other type of great teams that are looking to scale their operation, either on the qualification and operation side of the deal or on the value sales side, but looking to build a scaled, precise sales operation.
Wow. That's great. I mean, getting obsessed about a problem, right? So I always tell people, like, what problem are we trying to solve? Just the way that you've approached this and the team, I've obviously dove into your website, and a friend of mine is one of your advisors, and it's how we got connected. And I just love what you're doing for the RevOps industry, because I think not just what you're building, but the research that you're doing and sharing and providing to the community, which is one of the reasons why I really wanted you on the show. So thank you for sharing a little bit about your background and your why, because I think that's really important. To give the audience a little bit more, I'm going to ask you about a personal interest, something people on LinkedIn, maybe your quote unquote work friends would know about you.
Yeah, so I think most people don't know that one of my great loves is archery. I've been shooting archery for probably 20 years, and I fell in love with it in sort of the my late 20s when I became too old for other things that I was doing, which were much more intensive. And so archery is an unbelievable sport, because now that I'm doing what I'm doing, I understand why I love it so much. It's creating a very repeatable, precise operation in order to get to where you need to get to. And so a few things that I really love about that is you keep trying to perfect the motion that you're executing on, which is very similar to what we all do, right? We want to roll out a change in the organization. We want that change to sort of continuously be improved and perfected, and we need to do it again and again and again until we get it exactly where we need it. So that's one aspect I really love about Archery. The second is the failures. One of the things that Archery really puts in front of you is your bad shots. And so when you shoot an arrow and you miss, or you get a really bad arrow, it doesn't go away. It's still in the target in front of you when you shoot the next one. And you need to learn to sort of completely ignore it and learn from it, and then go into the next one. And so it's a very intense internal type of work that you need to do, mental work. And I find it fascinating. I think that's what I do at work as well.
Wow, that's really interesting, and I think there's definitely a lot to learn there. You know, repetition is the mother of skill. Obviously, do you do like competitions and things like that with archery?
I used to compete in others. My previous sport was judo. I used to compete. I was in the national team and competed when I was younger. And then when I got to my almost to my 30s, which is very old for judo, I did on archery, and I promised myself I'm not going to compete. I'm very competitive when I get into sports, and I actually wanted to do this for life. So I decided I'm not going to compete. I have to say I tripped once and I competed, and I felt like the urge to go compete again. I was like, no, you can't do it. You got to enjoy it.
Yeah, well, maybe when you go public and with your company, and you know you're off doing other things, right? You'll be able to do that full time. That's really interesting. The judo thing's interesting too. I have a martial arts background, a second degree black belt in Kempo, and my son is a jujitsu guy, so he's really into jujitsu. So tell me a little bit about what you're seeing out there in terms of all the AI RevOps hype.
So I think we're all bombarded with the amount of AI capabilities, buzzwords that are flying our way. And I've gotten to a point where I talk to RevOps teams and they say, we're at a point where we don't believe anything that's being told to us anymore, because we know a lot could be done, but we know everybody is just sort of blanket marketing everything they do. And there's, they need to dig in and understand how to evaluate. And one of their challenges is, how do I evaluate this thing? And how do I make sure it's the right fit? And so I see this confusion of how to evaluate AI, which is different than how software used to be evaluated. We knew pretty much how software should be evaluated. We've done it for many years. AI is moving so fast and with such aggressive marketing behind it that I see teams a little bit confused on how to evaluate it and how to make sure they prioritize properly. And the nice thing is that fundamentals haven't changed, right? The understanding of what is the problem in your process or in your business operation that is the most critical to solve is the starting point for evaluation. It's not going out and looking for the thing that everybody's using. Everybody's using conversational intelligence. We need conversational intelligence. Everybody's using agents to fill in the CRM. We need agents to fill the CRM. That's the wrong way to look at this. Because what you need to do is to figure out, if I let go of the trend for a second and I look inwards, where are our bottlenecks? Are we hitting our forecast? Right? Do we have an accuracy problem? Do we have an execution problem from pipeline to conversion? If we do, where is that problem? Is that at the beginning of the sales process? Is it at the middle of the sales process? Is it at the end? Is it a competitive issue, positioning issue, or a process issue? First, look at yourself, understand where the issues are, and then go and start looking for what's out there that could solve that problem. And you might get to the big trends in AI but you'll get there with a much clearer lens and clearer view.
To double down on all of that, because I think, especially with AI, there are shiny objects everywhere and there are really cool new tools popping up. And then you have, the big players like Salesforce who are adding a lot of AI into their product or add-ons. And it's easy to get caught up in that hype, but it really fundamentally goes back to what problem are we trying to solve? Because you can go out and get a tool and just rebuild the same problem. And I'll give you an example, just even bringing in something like Clay for an inbound process. You could very easily just repeat the same process you were doing before and dump it into Clay. But what problem are you really solving? You're just slapping a new tool on something and you're not actually making improvements. So I think the problem identification is a great tip on where to start with AI.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. I'm working with one of our customers which is a public mature company, and they've been doing qualification with a combination of the three Ys and MEDDPICC, which most of us know. And they did have a forecast accuracy problem, and so they got surprised at the end of quarters. The other piece of their execution was amazing, and so they sort of covered up on the accuracy problem with pipeline size and really really strong execution. But they were still blind to some of the deals that are at the finish line, and so they were able to finish the number, but not always the way they thought they would. And so it's just a matter of time until surprise hits you, right? And so they were looking for tools as part of this problem. And when we started talking, what I told him is, look, we can look at Spotlight or any other tool as an AI capability, but you need to be careful not to boost the problem you have. Right? You have a problem and you're putting agent or agentic AI into that problem. Unless you change something in how you solve that problem, the agentic AI might just do what you do much more effectively and keep the problem there or grow it. And so we got into a discussion of how do they qualify deals and where are the risks in their business when they run a deal. And then we can look at AI and agentic AI to go find these kind of risks that usually happen to them, the surprises that usually happen to them, and then apply AI to that to go solve that problem. But we needed to go one level deeper into why they have that kind of problem and what they need to change in order to apply AI effectively. Otherwise, AI would have been applied, working, adopted, and not solving the problem.
That's such a great point, because you could just completely exacerbate it and take the worst deal and replicate it, just because it was a large deal, for example, that, somebody closed, it won the quarter, but all of the mechanics behind it were maybe not the right mechanics to
Yeah.
emulate and to replicate going forward. So that's a great point. And you keep saying why, so I love the whole 5 whys, like Six Sigma thing, and just really really diving down into that. So when people like me who are in RevOps are thinking about their RevTech stack or their AI stack or MarTech, whatever you want to call it, your stack, how do we know that we're AI ready? Like, what are some, what's an approach we would take?
Yeah. So the first thing, as we said, is prioritizing. What are your objectives, your business objectives for this year? We're beginning of March. You look at 2026. Where do you want the operation to be at the end of 2026? Look 12 months out, and you can look 12 or 18 months, whatever your forecast is for the company, and try to really describe how is the operation, the go-to-market operation looks in 12 months or 18 months. and how is it different than it is today? Go through this exercise. Create what we call a current state and a desired state. Create that view for yourself. And then start prioritizing between the changes. What are the most critical things that will make the most impact or maybe most aligned to other strategic goals that the company has? Prioritize those. And then once you have that view very, very clear, and by the way, aligned with your go-to-market executives, which is not less important, then go and see how can you solve this problem and how can AI help you solve this problem. Now, AI doesn't solve every single problem you have. Okay, some of the problems AI could solve completely by taking people out of the workflow that they do today. Some of the problems could be solved by AI working for the people that are in the workflow, in the current workflow. And some of the AI capabilities can augment people to do things you don't do today at all. And you need to classify what are the areas you're going to apply AI with and which approach you're going to take. Now, replacing a person that's currently in a workflow is scary, right? And you need to make sure that the AI has the right guardrails and ready for it. I'll give you an example. Some of the workflows of sales reps and revenue teams or CS touch directly customers. We know that AI has limitations. It could hallucinate. It's not predictable. And so you need to ensure that when you apply AI, if it's applied for an internal workflow or handed to somebody internal, that's a different risk than applying AI that deals directly with the end customer. And it's still possible, but then you need to make sure that the AI is ready for that. The capability that you're applying, the tool that you're choosing is ready for that. Okay, the right guardrails are in place, the proof points are in place. And then once it is, then the last thing is to put fear into it, because the first thing that comes into mind is, hold on, I'm not gonna give up control that easily. And what it reminds me is how we are all looking at autonomous driving today, or maybe 5 years ago, right? Autonomous driving is scary. Getting on the freeway with a car that drives on its own, is scary. In 5-7 years, in 10 years, it might be scary for somebody to actually drive on the freeway manually. And so the way we are dealing with that change is we're giving control gradually. And let's think about the journey that we've made in autonomous driving. Initially, we just had the side mirror blinkers that were assisting us, giving us information on when should we and should we not do certain actions. And then slowly, it actually we gave it control to do active cruise control and keep distance from the car in front of us. But we still are in control of the car, and we can always hit the brake. Then we gave it control to move lanes and pass lanes, and slowly parking on its own, getting out of parking on its own. Why did we give parking a complete autonomy first? Because we're either not in the car or it's so slow we're not scared, right? But slowly we're giving control all the way to full autonomous driving. And so the fear needs to turn into how do we set the right controls in order to get to the end state that's where we need to be.
That I know you mentioned that analogy before, but it's so real. I've experienced exactly what you're saying, and it applies 100% to what's happening right now with AI, particularly with go-to-market teams. And just, personally, loving the Mad Max feature on the Tesla. I have completely allowed it to start driving because I realize it probably does drive better than I do, but don't tell my husband that. I love that though, because it is evolution, right? And going back to your, is your stack ready? Like really going back to that problem, understanding what level of AI are you looking to implement? What is the goal? Is it efficiency? Is it cost saving? Are you augmenting something, which, might be a great way to get started? So I think it's a really good call out in terms of, if you think about RevOps teams and companies, when they're looking at AI, like when they're evaluating, what do they miss? So what are you seeing out there? What are they totally missing as they're evaluating AI and looking at it as far as their tech stack goes?
Yeah, one of the things that sort of our mantras at Spotlight AI is we need to not, our mission is not to just blindly replace people, right? Our mission is not to just give people more tools. Like we've been given tools to go to market teams for the last decade and a half, endless amount of tools. And to be honest, we didn't dramatically change the enterprise sales model and the productivity model in enterprise sales. And so we've gotten better in some ways, but when you look at the core metrics of enterprise sales specifically, and we're dealing with enterprise sales mostly, quota attainment has been about 43%, up and down 1% for the last decade. With all the tools and tech that's out there, even in the last 2 years with AI. Reps spend 50% of their time on 20% of their revenue. Qualifying out, being able to understand where to spend your time and where to focus hasn't really improved. And so the reason I bring this up is we need to deeply understand who we're helping in order to understand what's the best way to help them. And I'll give an example. When we look at enterprise salespeople, they constantly jump between different type of activities, right? They develop relationships and trust. That's what they do in the first meeting. They get into a meeting. Who am I? Who are we? Why should we talk? I need to earn the right to spend more time with you. I need to build trust. So they're actually building human connection.
Or you hope they are. Right.
If they don't, they have another problem. But to be honest, this is what most reps are really good at. Wake up in the morning to get in front of customers. Right? That's what they like to do. But in the back of their mind, somebody told them, you need to do discovery. You need to go through these questions. You need to uncover the competition. You need to move the deal forward. Right? By next Monday, you need to update the CRM to show that the deal moved forward. And so now they have this analytical piece that's running in the background, and they map it to a playbook that somebody gave them. Really bad at that. Really bad at mapping that playbook and analyzing the deal and figuring out exactly where the gaps and risks are. And then they go in and they need to deal with systems, internal systems. They need to update CRMs. They need to, get content from the enablement platform. They deal with systems and they fill in data. They hate doing that. That's a waste of their time. And they do that because they have no other choice, right? The company needs it. And then they need to go in and sometimes they need to prepare assets for their next meeting. So they need to create like a deck that summarizes what they've heard from the customer, maybe pull in a case study and maybe build a business case. They might like to do that. They might feel like they're advancing the deal, but they're really not good at it. They weren't trained to build sales assets for deals. And so when you look at these kind of categories, right? And then at the end, they negotiate. They go through commercial discussions. They negotiate. When you look at these kind of activities, each of them is very different. By the way, they're even using different parts of our brain, right? Side, right side of the brain. And so sales reps are really good at dealing with people. So let's let them excel at creating human interactions. Let's free up as much time as we can, focus them on the right relationships to go develop, or maybe the right relationship to go change from negative to positive, which they're really good at, and take them out of things that they either hate or they'll never be as good as AI, right? Understanding from all the calls and all the emails and all the messages, where are the risks in the deal and what popped up as a pattern that in the past we lost deals because of that. Like that's something AI will always be superior in. So let's choose that portion and take them out of that portion and put an AI to go help them do that and direct them to what they need to go do. Let's have AI generate the assets they need to generate because they're not good at generating assets. Still keep them in control, but have AI actually boost that activity for them. And so the approach that we are really promoting has three points to it. Number one, let human excel at human interactions. Number two, let AI take over where it will always be superior through a framework that we call listen, understand, decide, act. We can talk about that later, what that framework for AI means. Listen, understand, decide, act. And the third is don't give them more tools. Integrate seamlessly into their existing workflows and take them out of the loop in those workflows. Free them from those workflows. Don't give them tool to be more effective in those workflows. Okay, those are the three sort of design principles that we take. And when we evaluate this with teams against their business problems, that's how we sort of classify where we're going to help.
I love that. I just want to get back to one piece that you said there at the end. Don't give them more tools than, make it easy for them. What came to mind is Zoom Info. I'm just going to throw that out there. People love Zoom Info. Zoom Info has been great for years and years and years, but now there's AI in different ways to go at this, rather than having somebody self-serve with the Zoom Info in Salesforce. What we're doing is we've got the Zoom Info API connected to Clay. So we're just going to grab the data and push it in there and not have them self-serve. So those are things where I think shiny objects and salespeople, they do want to feel like they have control. So, the second we took it away, they wanted it back. Of course, that's how it goes. But those are the kind of things, if you're doing it for them and the information is there, whether it's automating MEDDPICC, which I got a little sneak peek of what you guys do there, and those different things that they don't have to spend that administrative time, because ultimately they do hate it. And if they don't hate it, they're probably not a great salesperson. If they're spending all their time because they like doing all the checkboxy stuff, they're probably not going to be a great seller, right? And what's really interesting, and you'll probably remember this, when tools like Gong came out years ago, or Chorus, or just even the idea of recording stuff in Zoom, nobody wanted to be recorded. I can remember reps stopping the recording and saying, well, the customer stopped the recording, but we weren't really giving them value with it. Now they get the summaries, so they realize oh, I don't actually have to take notes during the meeting if I allow it to record, because now they have the summary and stuff like that. So it just kind of goes back to everything that you're saying in terms of not just the evolution, but wanting this overarching desire to let them do what they're great at. Let them sell. Let the CSMs be focusing in with their customer, making happy customers, and focusing on getting that CSAT score up and the things like that.
Exactly, and again, let's apply the same principles we talked about at the beginning. What kind of problems we're ultimately trying to solve? Right, we're trying to, number one, make them much more accurate in how they run a deal. And that includes also qualifying out. So focusing on the deals that matter rather than the deals that don't. So picking up on the right signals to say, this is a deal I need to spend more time on versus this is a deal, even though I have a warm, fuzzy feeling, this deal has all the red flags in it, right? And some of them, I'm not able to change. And so I need to take the hit and qualify out so I can spend more time on the deals that I'm going to win. And so what ultimately this needs to drive, and we're not there yet, but what this needs to drive is a fundamental change in the productivity model, right? Reps need to be able to manage more opportunities, because for each opportunity, they're going to focus on the areas where they matter most. And that way their span of control is going to grow. And the same goes for first-line managers. First-line managers will have much better visibility to what's happening in the deal, will have much better focus on where to coach, right? So they don't need to spend the endless time on one-on-ones of, tell me what happened last week, tell me the stories, fill in my half hour so we can go out and do our next thing. But you can really quickly jump to, hey, we both see this gap. It's clear to both of us because AI sort of pushed it to us. Let's spend the time to talk about how can I help you to go solve this gap. So now the first line manager can manage 15 or 20 people and not 7 or 8. And so the fundamental productivity model will change when we do this right. We're not there yet. The industry is not there yet. But if we build AI right in those type of control points, that's going to be the result.
So what does that look like? What is your vision, 12, 24 months out in terms of, organizations, sales organizations and B2B enterprise sales?
Yeah, so I think just like as drivers, let's go back to the car. Just like as drivers, we've morphed. We used to be, I mean, I'm old enough to drive. I drove stick, and
Hey, I've
and it
got a
was,
stick. I've got a stick. I've got a little Mazda Miata RX-5. I
there
love
you
it.
go, there
I
you go.
zip around in that.
Right? So we used to be in control of every little thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Yeah.
RPM, everything. We used to be in control of everything. And so what we've done is we've given control even over the gear and then more and more. And what it allows us to do is to do bad things like text during driving. You couldn't text and drive 20 years ago because you were
Because
busy
you're
driving.
trying to, yeah.
You're busy driving.
Right.
And so your span of control grew. You do more because you freed up, and you listen to podcasts during the drive, and you choose your podcast. And it's like this is what's going to happen to sales. They're
Mhm.
going to move from being a single threaded executor to an orchestrator that can do more with their time.
Mhm.
Okay, they can engage in more threads within a specific enterprise and do a much deeper campaign into that enterprise. They'll be able to manage more opportunities than they do today. They'll be able to be more people on a sales team in a region with one manager because they don't need that extensive sort of interruptions from the first line manager. And so that's the future we're moving into. Now, when we look at the framework that we put out, listen, understand, decide, act, we will get into a point where AI listens to every interaction between sellers and buyers, every single interaction, not just the Zoom. It's going to be on emails. It's already on emails, on Slack messages, on Teams, on phone calls, on text, on face-to-face meetings. Everywhere there's an interaction between the people, AI needs to be part of this. Right? They're a close partner for this deal, so they need to know everything that's happening in the deal. It's also going to listen to internal discussions happening in the enterprise where reps are trying to mobilize internal resources. How many times do we, as RevOps, we're optimizing internal processes between legal and sales and security and sales and so on. And so that kind of interaction is going to be listened to as well. And that will allow AI with the right frameworks and knowledge graphs, not just simple throwing things at the LLM and hoping for the right thing, but with the right knowledge graphs behind it. It'll allow AI to take that information, understand it, and make decisions of what needs to happen next. And then apply these three types of actions. Either help the rep by giving them what they need,
Mhm.
or telling them what they need to go do, but slowly and gradually, more and more, doing it for them and taking them completely out of the loop. Okay. And so I know it sounds scary, but it's not going to take the ownership of the deal from the rep, right? As long as we have a human buyer, we're going to need a human seller because we're going to need people to trust who they buy from. But there's no need for the seller to do all these mechanical and analytical tasks that they do. They need to focus on the things that only they'll do, and they'll do better than AI. I don't think there's going to be, even though there are apps like this, I don't think at scale therapists are going to be replaced that quickly. Why? Because people need somebody to trust. And
Right.
so, and reps are sort of enterprise therapists, right? They go and solve problems.
That's a really good way to put it. So I like so listen, understand, decide, act. That's definitely a great framework. Something that came to mind as you were talking about the listen portion, and I don't think we're there. And I know there's probably legalities and two-party consent and things like that, but wearables, like I think about trade shows. There's a lot of in-person interactions. When I was a field sales manager, you would sit and listen to a rep and you'd take notes and you'd coach them right in person. And there's a lot of wearables out there. There's glasses, there's Plod with a P, things like that. People are carrying around and recording. Uh, do you see that entering into the B2B space? You do, and
Yes,
so yeah,
100%. I think. Okay, let me tackle this from a few places. First of all, let's look at history. I mean, you've been around when the cloud trend took off. The big thing was don't put things in the cloud; it's not secure.
right.
Right? That was the number one fear of people at the beginning. Today, it's don't keep things local; put them in the cloud, otherwise, it's not secure. So I think it's the immediate fear is there, but people learn how to deal with that gap, explain it, agree on it, and then leverage the technology to go do better things. I had a doctor's appointment a few days ago. The doctor came in and literally put the phone and said, "You don't mind me recording? It's just taking notes instead of me being on the computer when I talk to you." And I said, "Of course, go do this." And then I said, "Show me the app that you're doing it with." And so I think we're heading into a reality where this will be transparent. You're not going to do this, trying to deceive somebody. It's just going to be part of life. It's going to be transparent, and we also need to remember that the next generation is coming. And the next generation is used to be digitized, is used to be exposed, is used for different privacy than we're used to. And so I think the trend is going to get there. Now, are all industries going to get there at once? No. Government, cybersecurity, health, yes. Legal, they're probably going to lag behind some other industries. But manufacturing, they're already asking for us because they do a lot of manufacturing floor tours. They're asking us to allow them to record what's happening with a salesperson on the manufacturing floor. It's already happening.
Yeah, that's great insight, and I completely agree with you. I think everything's just going to keep evolving, and that's going to be one of them. And just like everything else, there will be early adopters, and then late adopters, and things like that. And as far as this podcast, I think the listeners are in a wide range on the AI adoption curve. So what I try to do is ask these rapid fire questions. So I've got some rapid fire questions here. And I went to AI and I basically said, what are RevOps leaders and practitioners asking about AI? And how can I get the insights from my guests on the show? So I'm asking every guest these questions. So we're going to jump into those before we wrap up. So are you ready for this, Roy?
Let's go.
All right. All right. I like it. He's got his judo stance up there, ready to roll, do the takedown. Okay. So what's the very first place you tell a RevOps team to start with AI?
Just like I said, in their number one bottleneck that they know exists, and they have to solve it this year.
Love it. Love it. Is RevOps data actually AI ready today, or are most teams just automating garbage?
That's a great question. It's not just the data, it's how data is kept. And so agentic AI or agents are as good as the data structure they run on. If we throw an agent on a 2-hour call transcript, they'll make mistakes. If we structure the data into unique structures that are built for these AI agents, they're going to be very effective at finding the problems, the solution to the problems they need to.
Good answer. So what's one AI use case in RevOps you've seen actually work in the real world?
Generation of sales assets and MEDDPICC qualification of deals based on evidence, not opinions, with structured data.
I like that. Based on evidence, not opinions. That's great. We'll have to drill down into that one later if we have time. So how do you measure real ROI from AI in RevOps?
I go back to the problem I tried to solve and ask, what is the metric that needs to change for that problem to go away? And I measure AI against that metric. I might have leading KPIs that show me that I'm on my way to solve the problem with different types of KPIs, The ultimate impact KPI is where I started, the problem I wanted to solve.
Great. Will AI replace RevOps, or will RevOps leaders who use AI replace those who don't?
RevOps, sales reps, sales leaders are going to move from being a F-15 pilots to F-35 pilots. They're going to go from stick shift to fully automatic autonomous driving car. They're going to basically move from executors to orchestrators of systems that make them much bigger than who they are today. That's the transition they're going to go through.
Okay, I have to say this. You keep talking about a stick shift, and it's bringing me back to like when I was I was one of my first field sales rep jobs for Dish Network. I had a Toyota Tacoma, and I had a Thomas guide, and it was a stick shift, and I'm trying to drive in the snow because I covered the Northwest. So I'm sitting there with my Thomas guide, my steering wheel on my knee, trying to shift and figure out where the heck I was going to go. So you've got that baked in my head. What did I do before Google Maps? Great stuff. So tell me a little bit, before we wrap up here, I would love to hear a little bit more about Spotlight AI, your value prop, how people can find you, and, ultimately like who should talk to you and why.
Yeah. So find us on spotlight.ai. Pretty simple. We sell and partner with RevOps team, with CROs, and with value teams. We're an autonomous autonomous enterprise sales platform, and we drive autonomy through multiple use cases. The first one is deal qualification, where they're using MEDDPICC, Band, Sandler, any other framework. We do this, as I said, based on evidence, and we structure the data into the CRM. We take the seller out of the loop and providing the right visibility and data hygiene for that implementation. So we call that autonomous MEDDPICC. That's one. The second is value intelligence. We help reps bring a value consultant building a business case or a BVA into every deal. And so instead of relying on these experts that build these business cases and BVAs, we allow reps to get that service autonomously done for them as part of every deal. So that's a second use case. A third use case is what we call the RevOps analytics. Because we structure all the data, we take big concepts like who's my champion, what's my competitive landscape and my differentiators. We structure them, we break those down into small problems, and we structure the data. It allows us to apply machine learning and out-of-the-box dashboards for RevOps to go see where they need to improve. And so that's a third use case, which is the RevOps analytics module at Spotlight. We're fully embedded into Salesforce and other CRMs. We're relying on all the interactions between the seller and the buyer. So we plug into recorders like Zoom, like Gong and Chorus and others, or we have our own recorders and listen to emails. So if you are in that tech stack and those use cases are relevant, we'd love to help you. We work with some of the best sales teams on the planet. I mentioned some of the teams before, Wiz, MongoDB, Ping Identity, and others. And we work with very, very large, mature enterprises, Ericsson and others. And so if you're in that space and you want to get to that level, we'll be excited to talk to you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, I've talked to those guys over at MongoDB. I was hosting RevOps Unboxed, and I had a couple of those guys on as guests. It's pretty amazing the things that they're doing over there. So it's definitely a strong client customer test reference there for sure. And I looked a little bit. You gave me a peek, and the thing that I liked that I saw was the full autonomous side of MEDDPICC. So there's a lot of tools out there where it still gives the rep the choice. They have to go find it, click update the field, and things like that. And I've implemented those before, and it's great. It's like really cool, but like you said, it's they still have to do it. So chances are they're not going to do it because they hate the CRM stuff. It's all box checky. It's just to appease their managers. So if you can have real data that's automatically fluidly flowing in and scoring and doing all these things, I think it just gives that much more intelligence. So, so yeah, I appreciate that. Do you have any final closing thoughts here that you want to share?
No, I think let's share some of the success stories, because that's what everybody is looking for. I think what you're doing is amazing on this podcast, and bringing those type of stories for the community, because we're in a disruption and we're in the midst of it. So the more success stories we see, the more people are going to understand how they need to deal with what they have. And we're happy to share customer stories with whoever is interested. We have some amazing customers pushing the envelope on this.
Yeah, awesome. And send them my way too. I'd love to have them on guest, because I'd love to see what else they're doing just in terms of revenue operations as it relates to AI. So definitely send them my way. I will provide all the information on how to contact you in the show notes. So really appreciate everybody listening to today's episode. Roy, thank you so much for being on the show. Your insights are definitely tremendous to the industry. So we'll make sure to include, all of your blogs and the different things that you do associated with this. So in the show notes. So thank you again for listening. This has been another episode of AI Powered RevOps. Peace out.
Thanks for having me, Sandy. Bye.
Take care.